Part 49. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 495. Friday is still a working day. The sound of the alarm clock early in the morning always disturbs people's dreams and makes them restless. At the entrance of the villa, Chizuru Ninomiya, wearing an OL uniform, was putting on shoes. Unlike traveling in private, she doesn't need to disguise when she goes to work at the bank. Her blue hair falls down and her red lips are beautiful. Are you leaving so early? Why don't you sleep a little longer? Kurosawa Hikaru yawned, walked over and looked at her busy movements, holding onto his waist, and expressed concern. I worked hard until 3 o'clock in the middle of the night last night, but was woken up by the alarm clock before 7:30. It's okay, just go back to sleep and don't worry about me. Ninomiya Chizuru looked back and saw the action of holding his waist, and she immediately became happy. The corner of her mouth raised a charming smile, and her voice was cold and sexy. I'll go to bed later tonight. I have a lot of work today. Seeing the strange look in her eyes, Kurosawa couldn't help but shuddered and shook his head. The ancients never deceived me. At 30, I was like a wolf, and at 40, I was like a tiger. Although Chizuru is not yet 30 years old, she can still be considered half-wolf, even more ruthless than Yuki-chan. If you have free time, sleep a little longer. Ninomiya Chizuru knew that he had been following Runa everywhere yesterday, shooting everywhere, and fulfilling his contractual obligations. It was just a reminder. Kiss me. Kurosawa waited until she put on her shoes, then turned around and walked back into the house to go to the elevator. He also followed her to kiss her goodbye. While waiting for the elevator to come up from the first floor to the first floor, Chizuru Ninomiya blushed a little when she heard this, but she still kissed him gently on the lips. Ding! At the same time, the elevator came, she waved her hand and left as if running away. What a sense of contrast! Seeing the elevator door close, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but admire. In ordinary times, Sister Chizuru's temperament and style studied as a teacher make her look intellectually mature, elegant and reserved. At night, Sister Kinhee is like a wolf and a tiger. Once the switch is turned on, she is simply the incarnation of a hungry wolf, extremely clingy. She is good at bedrooms and living rooms. Sister Kinhee's only shortcoming is that she is not good at housework and cooking. At 8:27, Kurosawa Hikaru came to the underground garage and got in the car. However, instead of driving his Maybach, he got into another car. Miss Runa, I already have a car. You don't have to pick me up. You have to make a special trip. Sitting in the back seat, Kurosawa Hikaru felt helpless. When traveling for work, he had to sit in the back seat. It should be said that it was best to sit in the back seat. Sitting in the passenger seat, it is easy to be seen. The rear window of this car has been modified so that you cannot see the inside from the outside. As long as you dare to drive your Maybach to the office, within an hour, someone will say on the internet that they have photographed your car and your favorite car. Igarashi Runa doesn't mind the trouble, she has a good reason. Even if some fans know that it is her car only costs about 10 million yen. It is considered a good car, but not a luxury car. That's why her car doesn't attract attention when driving on the street. In contrast, a super luxury car like the Maybach turns heads wherever it passes, making it difficult not to be seen. If this is the case, then I won't be able to drive my car around. Kurosawa Hikaru was full of resentment. He couldn't even hold the steering wheel of his car to warm it. As long as you don't drive it to the office, it can go anywhere. Seeing that he was a little unhappy, Igarashi Runa comforted him. While talking, she also started the car and left the garage. By the way, remember to change your clothes. We won't go back to the office, we will go directly to the shooting. After leaving the villa and driving on the road, Igarashi Runa suddenly remembered something and reminded her. You should have told me if you wanted to change clothes. We were in the villa just now. It was convenient for me to find a place to change. Did you do it on purpose? Kurosawa Hikaru was speechless when he heard this. He quickly thought of something and looked at her suspiciously. Yes, I did it on purpose. I just wanted to see you change clothes. Igarashi Runa has no good intentions and is not afraid to admit it. She has no meat to eat, why can't she take a look and feast her eyes? Realizing that she had shamelessly admitted it, Kurosawa Hikaru helplessly shook his head and had no choice but to change his clothes. Why did you stop? Halfway through changing clothes, Kurosawa Hikaru noticed that Igarashi Runa had stopped the car and turned to look at him, without even peeking through the rearview mirror. He suddenly felt uncomfortable. Although as a man, he doesn't suffer any loss if he lets girls see him. But I have to say, it feels quite embarrassing to be watched by a female gangster changing clothes. Wait for the traffic light. Igarashi Runa pointed forward and motioned for him to look. Can you stop staring at me? Others can see it, but I can't. Fine. Seeing her jealous reaction, Kurosawa Hikari could do nothing but pamper her. It didn't take long for him to change his clothes, but he didn't put on the mask yet. It's really inconvenient to change clothes in the back seat of the car because there isn't enough space. If it is a little girl, there should be enough space. The key is that he is a man, and his height has increased to 181 centimeters with the blessing of various skills. He has grown 3 centimeters taller. This increase in blessing is already at its limit and will not change depending on what skills he obtains. Is there any movement from Sony, Penguin, and Apple? Not yet, I'm probably still considering it. It seems that the contract will not be finalized so quickly. Let's fill up today's work a little bit and solve some of the backlog first. I have to be busy these days. After thinking about it, Kurosawa Hikaru felt that he was too anxious and adjusted his mentality. A contract of 100 billion yen is already a super high contract in the entertainment industry. Although a 10-year contract is equivalent to 10 billion yen per year, this is not an installment payment. For these 3 companies, it also requires careful consideration and comprehensive evaluation. He thought about it carefully. Even if a company offered 100 billion, he probably wouldn't agree. It doesn't matter if he is waiting for the price or asking for the price. After all, there are 3 companies competing, and the price of 100 billion may not make him want to sign it. That's right, instead of wasting time and energy waiting for a reply, it's better to take advantage of this gap to take Xiaoyuki back to his hometown. It's okay as long as you don't feel tired. Igarashi Runa was naturally very welcome when she heard his arrangement. It's not easy to get this busy man to take time out to run announcements. As for what he was busy with, she didn't want to ask. As an agent, she knew that even if they had a good relationship, they had to leave personal space for each other. After deciding on this, Kurosawa Hikaru took out his mobile phone from his changed clothes and sent a message to Xiaoyuji. I will go back to my hometown tomorrow and stay for a few days. You should prepare your luggage and bring a few sets of clothes. Okay, how many days do you want to stay? 3 days, I will go back to Tokyo next Tuesday. Yeah, what kind of gifts do uncle and aunt like? After a while, Xiaoyuji replied. She didn't seem very surprised about this, because they had talked about it before, and she had been waiting for a long time during this period. When Kurosawa Hikaru saw this question, he didn't reply immediately, but thought about it. The first impression is very important, so he didn't intend to stop Xiaoyuji from giving gifts. What's more, Xiaoyuji is a JK, and she is at an age where she has no money in her pocket, so she doesn't think she will spend money on a big gift. Should I drive the Maybach back? While chatting with Xiaoyuki, Kurosawa Hikaru was also thinking about a very important question. His first car was given by Chizuru, and he always felt bad driving it to take Xiaoyuki back to his hometown. This was not only a shame to Chizuru, but the key was that it might dampen Xiaoyuki's enthusiasm to buy him a supercar. Forget it, let's drive it back during the Chinese New Year. Not long after, Kurosawa Hikaru made a decision and said it secretly in his heart. Unlike Tokyo, he is a big celebrity in his hometown of Shizuoka. He brought Xiaoyuki's beautiful girlfriend back to his hometown, and the neighbors and fellow villagers in the surrounding area would definitely talk about Kurosawa Hikaru's love affair at the dinner table that night. If he still drove the Maybach back to his hometown, he would definitely not be able to have a quiet few days in his hometown. Most of the notices Kurosawa Hikaru received were advertising endorsements. However, it may be because he is a pianist with an elegant and noble image, and the manufacturers who came to cooperate with him have a relatively high-end market positioning. For example, watches, jewelry, necklaces, perfumes, etc. As for clothing endorsements, he did not accept any. Because he still has his own plan. When the funds for this contract are in place, he will also create his own clothing fashion brand. In this way, it was busy until the afternoon. While waiting beside Kurosawa Hikaru, Igarashi Runa received a message. Ichi knows Yuki, Ms. Igarashi, I want to take 3 days off. After seeing this message, Igarashi Runa immediately understood the situation. However, she was not jealous, but just looked at Kurosawa Hikaru sitting in front of the piano, filming a watch advertisement. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 496. I am a night owl, always sleeping until the afternoon. In the evening, several people from the Spice Girls group gathered together, but there were only 6 people. Neither Yuki Ichinos nor Hikaru Kurosawa came. Do you know what I saw last night? In a milk tea shop, Chiyukui called everyone and said mysteriously. What? What? Shianai is impatient and is particularly interested in gossip and secrets. Seeing her tone, she immediately became interested. Following everyone's curiosity, Chiyukui also told what she had seen and heard last night. However, she ignored the incident of Kurosawa Hikaru walking out of the restaurant arm in arm with a black-haired woman whose appearance was unclear. Because Ichino said that Kurosawa has an older sister, she should just treat her as an older sister. There is no need to go into too much detail, as it would be bad for everyone. Kurosawa drives a Maybach. Or the latest model. A $70 million luxury car. After listening to her story, Yamamoto Daiki felt his scalp numb and goosebumps rising. Because of the popularity of TikTok, he has also seen countless luxury cars, such as a car worth 2 billion. It is not that he has never seen it before, but after all, it is something on the internet, and there is no real feeling at all. But now, someone told him that someone he knew actually drove a luxury car worth nearly 100 million, which was very real. After all, it's Kurosawa. This guy is really hiding deep. Sato's eyes also widened, but he breathed a long sigh of relief, shocked and relieved. He had never underestimated Kurosawa and always thought Kurosawa was very powerful. He had a feeling that Kurosawa should be the most powerful person he had spoken to in his life. A top student at Dongda University and the champion of the National College Archery competition. Any one of these two names would be extremely awesome in his opinion. 70 million, Kurosawa is so amazing. I have never seen such an expensive car. I wonder if I will have a chance to ride in it in the future. After Shianaoi was shocked, her mind was very active and her eyes were filled with stars. Aren't you surprised that Kurosawa and Miss Igarashi had dinner together? Chiyukui couldn't help but ask when she saw that everyone's attention was on the luxury car. What's so surprising? Yuki's manager is Ms. Igarashi. It's normal for Kurosawa to know her manager. Kurosawa brought us so many tickets before. I thought at the time that he was not simple and should know someone from the organizer. That's true. Chiyukui thought about it carefully and felt that it made sense. Compared to this, Kurosawa probably bought a car recently. I wonder if he will drive the car next time we go out together. Maybe he will drive over suddenly and want to scare us. She and I suddenly looked forward to the next meeting, thinking about it very happily. Is that car really Kurosawa's? This is a 70 million luxury car. He is still a college student. Where did he get so much money? Is it possible that he borrowed it from a friend? Although Yamamoto Daiki gave Kurosawa "You are awesome" after the showdown at the skating rink and no longer held any prejudice, he still felt it was unrealistic. Kurosawa is handsome, can sing, do archery, can skate, and is a top student at Tokyo University. He can understand all these things. But for a college student to be linked to a 70 million luxury car is really outrageous. Next time I see him, I'll find out if I ask him. Hinata Yuato thought about it, but he still tended to think that the car belonged to Kurosawa. Metropolises are always busy, but after night falls, every house lights up. Mom, I plan to go out with Lan and the others for a few days. At the dinner table, Yuki Ichino's finally waited until her parents got off work and plucked up the courage to say, "Okay, where are you going to play?" Ichino's mother just sat down and heard this. She didn't stop her, she just asked. Although high school students in Neon have pocket money, they are usually relatively independent and will work part-time to make money in their spare time. Some people subsidize their families, and some people save their own money to enjoy their youth, such as traveling, hanging out with friends, and shopping. Seaside. Ichino's Yuki didn't think of a perfect explanation, but just mentioned a relatively common location. When it comes to summer, you must go to the beach. What do you mean about hanging out with Lan? You mean hanging out with your boyfriend, right? When Ichino's father heard this location, he looked at his precious daughter faintly. Ichino's Yuki felt a little guilty and pretended to be stupid with a cheerful smile. She did go out to play with Brother Guang, but not to the beach, but to follow Brother Guang back to her hometown. After much thought, she still couldn't say anything about it, otherwise her parents would definitely ask questions. Seeing her, she didn't deny it. Ichino's father didn't say anything. He just took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, took one out and held it in his mouth. Crack. Suck. Call. Father Ichino's was puffing away with a dull expression. Don't worry about your dad. Your boyfriend will go too. That's of course the best. I'll feel relieved when he's here. When are you leaving? Seeing his melancholy look, Ichino's mother gave him a funny look and comforted him. Although she hasn't met him formally yet, she feels satisfied since she found out that her daughter's boyfriend is a student from Dongda University. Leave tomorrow morning. Seeing his mother supporting him, Ichino's Yuki immediately felt at ease. Is the money enough? It's enough. If you don't have enough money, just say it. You can't just let others pay for going out together. Even if it's your boyfriend, it's not appropriate. I know. Yuki Ichino's smiled. Be safe. Ichino's father saw that the overall situation was decided and there was nothing he could do to stop it, so he could only give instructions. Don't worry, Brother Guang will never take me on adventures. When Yuki Ichino's heard this, he immediately confirmed his decision. Seeing her confident look, Ichino's father opened his mouth, but felt that some words were inappropriate, so he could only keep his head down and smoke. After dinner, Ichino's Yuki returned to the room. Instead of doing her daily exercise, she took out a small suitcase and started rummaging through it to choose clothes. She was in a good mood, humming a song while choosing clothes. Because she waited for so long and finally waited until Brother Guang was free. Going to Shizuoka with Brother Guang, although she was a little timid about meeting her parents-in-law, she then thought about it. She would be able to be with Brother Guang in the next few days, which was a good thing. Just as she was opening her suitcase and folding clothes on the floor, there was a few knocks on the door. You take the money. Ichino's mother walked into the room, closed the door, and looked at her already starting to salute. It was a bit funny, and she also took out 5 10,000 yuan bills. Mom, I really have enough money. Seeing her action, Ichino's Yuki was immediately flattered. Take it if it's given to you. I'll give you the money and you won't need it. What are you thinking about? Realizing that she dared to refuse, Ichino's mother glared at him. Yes. Ichino's Yuki was so cruel by her that she could only obey her words and take the 50,000 yen in her hand. Yuki, you are spending the night outside with your boyfriend, and I don't want to stop you. But you are still in school, so you must be sensible and take safety measures. Looking at her beautiful and cute face, Ichino's mother was very emotional and simply said something. Neon's social atmosphere is both open and conservative, and there is no such thing as puppy love. The age of high school is the time when love begins and romance begins. As a mother, she has no reason to stop her daughter from pursuing happiness and joy. What's more, my daughter's boyfriend is not that kind of delinquent young man, but a good-looking college student and a top student at the University of Tokyo. However, my daughter is still in high school after all, so she needs to be careful when it comes to relationships. New. Ichino's Yuki nodded obediently, understanding her concern. She also plans to go to college. Although she doesn't know if she can get into it, she does need to pay attention to this aspect. Call your boyfriend out for a meal together when you have time. Your dad and I haven't said hello to him yet. Seeing that she remembered it, Ichino's mother didn't warn her anymore and just said softly. Her daughter was maliciously slandered and spread rumors about her in junior high school, and suffered a lot. Perhaps after entering high school, Yuki abandoned her studies and instead wore heavy makeup like a hot girl. She looked flashy and rebellious, but as a mother, she knew very well that it was just a disguise used by her daughter to protect herself. Her daughter is very well behaved and sensible, but she is still too young and immature. That's why she wanted to meet her daughter's boyfriend and check it before she could feel completely at ease. After a busy day, Kurosawa Hikaru also returned home. He was sent home by Igarashi Runa, and the Maybach was still in the underground garage of the villa. Back home, Kurosawa Hikaru also had a video call with Miki Shiraba. Senior, good evening. As the video was connected, Miki Bayu saw his appearance and shouted sweetly. Bayu, have you eaten? Listening to her somewhat happy shout, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded slightly and asked. Among his 5 girlfriends, the one he spent the least time with was undoubtedly Bayu, which made him feel a little guilty. Especially when he spent the night at Miki's house and left before dawn, he felt like a scumbag. Senior, the question is, do you want to eat with me? Miki Bayu did not answer immediately, but after pondering, he asked tentatively. It's already past 8 o'clock, I just wanted to say hello. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. He was sent home after having dinner with Miss Runa. Oh, I've eaten. Realizing that he was not inviting her to eat together, Miki Bayu's eyes flashed with pity and he nodded. I'll be busy for a few more days and I'll be free next week. Then I'll go learn skating with you. Seeing her flash of regret, Kurosawa Hikaru's voice suddenly became a little gentler. What are you doing? I was watching the video of the pair's skating competition, and I missed you a little bit. Do you miss me just a little bit? I miss you very much. Actually, I really want to. It's just that Senior is so busy. I don't want to cause you any trouble and make you think I'm hinting you to come to me quickly. Seeing him pretending to be unhappy, Miki Bayu suddenly became a little anxious, changed his words to clarify, blushed a little, and explained in a low voice. You just miss me, how can you cause trouble to me? Kurosawa Hikaru felt helpless seeing how sensible she was. A sensible child gets no candy. This schoolgirl is just too sensible. If she were a little clingy, he would definitely try his best to make time to accompany her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 497. At 8:50 the next morning, Tokyo Station, Shinkansen, green carriage. Brother Guang, what should I say when I see your parents? Getting on the Shinkansen, Yuki Ichino's was already a little nervous as the train departed, and couldn't help but ask. My parents don't know how to eat people. When they meet and greet each other, just call them uncle and aunt. Kurosawa Hikaru saw her nervous look, and while teasing her, he also gave her a hint. If uncle and aunt ask us how we met, what should we say? Yuki Ichino's chin slightly and asked again. To be honest, she felt that the way she and brother Guang met was too unique. She specifically spent money to buy an account online with a large number of boyfriends, and then met brother Guang. Regarding this matter, even in front of peers, I am ashamed to talk about it, let alone in front of elders. Just follow what we told your friends at the beginning, meet on the tram. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't even need to think about it to understand her difficulties. After all, the fact that he was packaged and sold to others by Neptune was a shame that he could not bear to look back on. Good. Yuki Ichino's nodded. Perhaps everyone in the Spice Girls group agreed that her encounter with brother Guang was ordinary, but compared to thrilling, special and romantic encounters, for elders, ordinary encounters are best. How we met, let's keep it a secret between us. Thinking of their first encounter, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly laughed out loud and agreed. It has been 3 months since he and Xiaoyuki met. Even so, he still finds it funny when he thinks back to the video where Yuki-chan claimed to be his girlfriend from the very beginning. Brother Guang, don't laugh. Seeing him laughing out loud, Yuki Ichino's could guess what he was laughing at, and interrupted him reluctantly, blushing a little. When she first looked at the photo, she thought brother Guang was very handsome, and she felt fascinated. Unexpectedly, after the video call was connected, she found that brother Guang was even more handsome than the photo. She was really shocked and couldn't wait to call herself her girlfriend. You know, in this era of beauty cameras, it is rare to see a real person who is more handsome than the photo. Brother Guang, what's so interesting about Izu? After chatting for a while, Yuki Ichino's knew the destination this time and was a little curious. In fact, Tokyo is not very far from Shizuoka. It only takes 90 minutes to reach Shizuoka by Shinkansen, making it a city that can be visited on the same day. It's just that she is from Tokyo and has grown up in the capital. For her, as long as she leaves Tokyo, she is traveling far away. In addition, she didn't know much about the geography of Nihon and had no impression of Shizuoka. She only knew that it was not around Tokyo, so she said it was far away. Unlike before, this time she did her homework well. Shizuoka Prefecture is very large, located between Tokyo and Osaka, Japan, and is a major transportation artery in Japan. Their Shinkansen trip will take them to Shizuoka East Station, and their destination is Izu City, which can be reached in 2 hours. You haven't arrived yet, do you want to play? When Kurosawa Hikaru heard this question, he was stopped on the spot and joked. Not to mention Izu, he didn't even know what interesting places there were in Shizuoka. Maybe he grew up in Shizuoka, but before he was admitted to Tokyo University and left his hometown to go to college, he was either studying or studying every day. For 18 years, he never thought about playing. Since we're going to stay for several days, it's better to make a plan first. Ichino's Yuki chuckled and said coquettishly. Man's calculation is not as good as God's. It is not a good thing to have too many plans. When you arrive, we will think about it together. Kurosawa Hikaru decided to take it one step at a time and suggested. Good. Yuki Ichi-nose nodded. In fact, as long as she was with Brother Guang, it didn't matter where she went, she was just changing the subject. I haven't been to Izu yet, so I don't know if the scenery in Izu is beautiful. Finally putting the embarrassment behind him, Ichi-nose Yuki looked at him beside him, thinking about the destination of this journey, and was ready to move. Very beautiful. Really? My hometown is on the Izu Peninsula, known as the Hot Spring Peninsula. It is one of the neon tourist attractions and a place full of charm. Although Kurosawa Hikaru doesn't like to go out to play, he has read a lot of books and knows Izu quite well. The population of Izu is not large, but the tourist flow is very high. The family sells oden, and the business is quite good. Hot spring. What's wrong? It's a pity that it came during the summer vacation. It would have been better if it came during the winter vacation. You don't have to bathe in hot springs in winter. You can also bathe in hot springs in summer. It's quite comfortable. Really? You'll know if you try it? Ichi-nose Yuki was a little happy when she realized that she could go to the hot springs this time. Maybe there are hot springs in Tokyo. It's not like she has never soaked in a hot spring before, but this time she was with Brother Guang. Even if there was no mixed bathing, she could still see Brother Guang in his yukata. The journey by car always feels extremely long. But that wouldn't be the case if there was someone traveling with us. I haven't met Brother Guang's friends yet. Is there any chance to meet him this time? After chatting for a while, Ichi-nose Yuki gradually let go of her nervousness and began to look forward to it. There shouldn't be a chance. Facing this question, Kurosawa was stumped again, unable to meet her expectations. Looking back, in his impression, there seemed to be no one in his hometown who could be called a friend. In Tokyo, he could think of a few people, such as Yoda Miyazaki, Brother Shinichi, and everyone from the Spice Girls. Why? Because I have no friends in my hometown. Ah! Ichi-nose Yuki's eyes widened and she was shocked. According to common sense, shouldn't your hometown be the place with the most friends? Before I was admitted to Tokyo University, I was either studying, and I had no intention of making friends. Seeing the disbelieving expression on her face, Kurosawa explained. Before he achieved his first goal and was admitted to Tokyo University, he never fell in love and didn't even bother to make friends. Because he thinks women will affect his learning speed. As for friends, it's the same. Okay, sorry. Ichi-nose Yuki didn't expect that he had such a past. After being stunned, he always felt that he had mentioned something bad. In fact, she had discovered before that Brother Guang was actually quite lonely. He had few friends in Tokyo and no one visited his home. She can understand this, because Neon has a special definition of friends. Many people come to the metropolis of Tokyo and exhaust their energy just running around for a living. It is not that easy to make friends. However, she never expected that Brother Guang had no friends in Tokyo, nor even in his hometown. What are you apologizing to me for? When Kurosawa Hikaru saw her sudden apology, he immediately couldn't laugh or cry. Ichi-nose Yuki didn't know what to say, so she just looked at him with big eyes. Her eyes were very complicated, showing guilt, distress, pity, and determination. She decided that even if she made Brother Guang feel annoying, she would send more messages to Brother Guang whenever she had time so that he would no longer be lonely. Don't worry, I have few friends, but I have many girlfriends. Kurosawa Hikaru noticed the complicated meaning in her eyes and found that she was pitying him again. He couldn't help but feel speechless. He simply put his arm around her shoulders and patted her gently to comfort her. Brother Guang, you. As soon as these words came out, Ichi-nose Yuki's eyes suddenly changed, and he was extremely resentful, thinking that he had gone too far. Although she turned a blind eye to the fact that Brother Guang had several girlfriends and accepted it, she was very irritated when she saw him acting so confidently. I was joking, don't be angry. When Kurosawa Hikaru saw her resentful and aggrieved reaction, he immediately regretted it and coaxed her angrily. Ichi knows Yuki was not actually angry, but it was impossible for her not to be jealous at all. Don't worry about me, I don't have any friends, it's just that I'm too busy. Believe it or not, if I want to make friends, it's easy to make hundreds of friends. Because the joke just now was a bit too much, Kurosawa Hikaru confidently patted his chest and changed the subject. I trust you. When Yuki Ichinose heard the exaggerated number of hundreds, her beautiful eyes widened, but she still nodded. Although she felt that ordinary people couldn't make so many friends, but if it was Brother Guang, it might not be impossible. Ha ha ha. Faced with her trust, Kurosawa Hikaru immediately smiled. The conversation and laughter quickly subsided. Friends from home. The road home was getting closer and closer. Kurosawa Hikaru sat back in his chair and thought about it in his heart. Speaking of friends from his hometown, he really didn't have much impression. Suddenly, a female voice with Aizu dialect sounded in his ears. Kurosawa-san. He had heard this voice for many years since he was a child. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 498. As a call rang in his ears, many voices sounded one after another, and the dust-laden memories came flooding in like a tide. These voices come from different age groups. It's too long ago, starting from kindergarten to graduating from high school, which lasts for more than 10 years. Kurosawa. The childishness is still there, and the sound of milk is milky. Brother Kurosawa. A voice full of energy and joy. Kurosawa. Soft and cute, clear and sweet. Kurosawa. Gentle and pleasant, pleasant to the ear. Kurosawa-san. He was timid, as if he had to muster the courage to speak. Suddenly recalling the past, the scene before my eyes was blurry. Shouldn't they be considered friends? Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't remember the name the girl changed to him, or the specific day, and he couldn't help but feel confused. Neon, the definition of friend is very detailed. Because of the word's sense of boundary, Neon people can always control the distance from others to a certain extent in terms of interpersonal relationships. Friends of Neon people refer to people who have common interests, hobbies, and topics, can communicate with each other, and play in a circle. Moments, this is not Penguin VX's moments, but a real moments. It is not easy to integrate into a circle, it is very difficult. Neon people's minds are more sensitive and delicate, which can also be said to be dark and true, and they have a strong repulsion towards latecomers and outsiders. When he pretended to be Xiaoyuki's boyfriend and wanted to blend into the circle of hot girls, he actually spent a lot of time thinking about it. For example, when we meet for the first time, I buy everyone a cake. It is not very expensive and everyone can share it. The most important thing is that he has the identity of Xiaoyuki's boyfriend. Circles aside, he is the soul of an adult. He had nothing to talk about with kindergarten children, 7 or 8-year-old elementary school students, and teenagers in junior high school. These little brats who didn't even have hair on their backs. How could he make friends with them? High school students, generally speaking, are already at a relatively mature stage and may not be out of reach. For example, Xiaoyuki is a female high school student. But when he was in high school, in order to ensure that he could be admitted to Tokyo University, he had no intention of making friends and was immersed in textbooks day and night. When others wanted to make friends with him, he was not interested at all and only found them noisy. After a 2-hour drive, the Shinkansen arrived at Shizuoka East Station. This was not the end yet. They took their luggage and bought another ticket to Qingshui Port. Departing from Tokyo at 8:50, they arrived at Shimizu Port at 11:26 noon. As they took their luggage and stepped off the train again, the scenery was completely different. Is this Aizu? The sea breeze was blowing on her face. Ichi-nose Yuki was holding an umbrella, her waterfall-like blonde hair and snow-white dress fluttering in the wind, like a beauty dancing. She saw a port not far away with some ships docked, blue sea and sky, and pleasant scenery. This is still Shizuoka. Take a boat to Doi Port on the opposite side to find the Izu Peninsula, my hometown. Kurosawa Hikaru pulled her small suitcase and pointed to the port not far away. His journey home is not that easy. Needless to say, his hometown in Nihon is quite remote. Compared to a big city like Tokyo, it is not surprising that it is a remote place in the countryside. In fact, because the Izu Peninsula has great scenery and hot springs and is a Nihon tourist attraction, for better tourism, it is relatively behind in modern development. Shall we take a boat? Hearing this, Yuki Ichi-nose suddenly felt pleasantly surprised. Have you never sat down before? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. I have sat there, but I have never sat with Brother Guang. Yuki Ichi-nose smiled, reached out and took his arm, and held an umbrella for him. It was hot summer, it was midday, and the sun was very poisonous. Ah! Seeing how happy she was, Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head in amusement. After that, they walked towards the port. After a while, they arrived at the Shimizu port ticket office in Shizuoka and queued up. Because it was his first time here and he was unfamiliar with the place, Yuki Ichi-nose could only follow him and hold an umbrella for him. However, she held her arm and curiously watched him buy the ticket with wide eyes, wanting to learn how to get to Brother Guang's hometown. All right. Soon, Kurosawa Hikaru bought the ticket, took a look at the departure time, and left the team with her. Aha! Yuki Ichi-nose nodded and followed his footsteps. Walking towards the port, Yuki Ichi-nose suddenly heard several female voices. That can't be Kurosawa, right? Is Kurosawa back? Could the girl next to him be his girlfriend? So beautiful, just like a fairy. Is this a girl from Tokyo? Her skin is so tender. Ichi-nose Yuki listened to their conversation and glanced sideways calmly, and found that there were 3 young girls waiting in line, but they were peeking over here and communicating in low voices. Do they know Brother Guang? This discovery made her a little surprised. In addition, she also noticed that several college students walking beside her whispered eagerly after passing by. Kurosawa? Could he be Izu's genius Hikaru Kurosawa? Meizuo, didn't you say you had met Kurosawa Hikaru? Is it him? It's him. The boy called Zhenxiang said firmly when he came back to his senses. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't wear a mask or hat, and he looked very handsome. Whenever you saw him once, you would be impressed and you would recognize him. What's more, Kurosawa Hikaru has been considered by many parents on the Izu Peninsula as a child and role model for other people since he was a child. He's so handsome, just like a star. His girlfriend is so beautiful. It is said that Kurosawa was admitted to Tokyo University. Is this girlfriend also a student of Tokyo University? After being confirmed, the 2 boys took a breath, really shocked. Hearing that someone suspected that she was a student of Dongda University, Yuki Ichi-nose suddenly felt very interesting and looked sideways at Brother Guang next to her. What's wrong? Kurosawa, who was pulling the pink women's suitcase, was happy to see her snickering. Is this girl secretly happy because others misunderstood that she was born in Dongda University? Are these guys blind? You know, Xiao Yuki's big eyes reveal clear stupidity and innocence that is not contaminated by knowledge. Let alone a Tokyo University student, he doesn't even look like a college student. Izu genius Hikaru Kurosawa. Ichi-nose Yuki said the name word by word. This nickname always seemed so cute. Ahem, that's not what I claim to be, it was spread by others. Kurosawa Hikaru's teasing smile froze, he coughed dryly, and the corners of his mouth twitched a few times. This title was passed down to him when he was a child. Because when other children in kindergarten were not able to speak well, when he learned the 50-syllable diagram, he had already completely mastered the multiplication table, and even started to read junior high school textbooks. He was indeed a genius. However, this nickname has lasted for more than 10 years and has not changed until now, simply because he has always been the first in his grade since he was a child, and is a well-deserved academic master, a child of other people's families. Brother Guang, don't you like this nickname? Seeing his embarrassed reaction, Itchy Nose Yuki immediately didn't understand. In her opinion, Brother Guang is worthy of the name of genius, no matter in archery, piano, or studying. Not too fond of it? Why? Because many people like to call the achievements of others through hard work and time called genius. Speaking of this, Kurosawa Hikaru's expression darkened. He remembered the past and said in a deep voice. He is self-aware enough to know that he has never been a genius. But whether it is his classmates or his parents, everyone thinks he is a genius, which is why his grades are so good. But is this really the case? Even though he had the soul of an adult since he was a child, he never considered skipping a grade. He just wanted to spend more time studying, lay a better foundation, and ensure that he could be admitted to Dongda University. He had read the contents of the textbook thoroughly for countless days and nights. He had passed various test papers through the hands of his teacher countless times. Even if his parents force him to take him on a trip, whether it's mountain climbing or the beach, he just has some fun. After combining work and rest, he spends all the extra time studying. I see. Yuki Ichino's thought about it carefully and came to an understanding. Although she had never been involved in Brother Guang's childhood, she could tell from a glimpse that Brother Guang's superb piano skills, unparalleled archery level, and excellent results in being admitted to Tokyo University must be the result of his countless efforts. Achievements gained. However, everyone turned a blind eye to his efforts and classified him as a genius. Brother Guang, I'm sorry. Thinking of this, Yuki Ichino's reacted and felt that his teasing attitude just now was not good. It's okay, you are different from them. However, Kurosawa didn't care at all and just pinched her soft little face. There is no comparison between Xiaoyuki and others. Not long after, they boarded a ship bound for Doi port. Woo! The whistle sounded and the ship officially set sail. Brother Hikaru, the scenery in Izu is so beautiful. As he got further and further away from the shore, Yuki Ichino's put his hands on the fence, looked at the sea, looked back at Shimizu port, and couldn't help but sigh. The direction you are looking at is Shizuoka. Kurosawa Hikaru stood beside her with his hands in his pockets, and he couldn't help laughing and corrected her. Hee, Brother Guang, do you think Qingshui port looks good? Ichino's Yuki asked curiously when she saw him smiling and achieving his goal. Nice. Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned when he heard the words. He looked at Qingshui port with a pair of black eyes, and then looked around at the sea. He was silent for a long time, and he recognized it in his heart. In fact, before he was admitted to the University of Tokyo, he was in such a hurry along the way that he never stopped to appreciate the scenery on the road. Because the University of Tokyo is the #1 university in Nihon, it is not easy to get admitted. He has been running since he was a child and does not dare to take it lightly. This time when he took little Yuki back to his hometown, he suddenly looked back and realized that he was very unfamiliar with his hometown. Just like the Qingshui port in front of him, he had visited it many times, but he had never calmed down and seriously remembered its appearance. He only knew that this was the way back to his hometown, and that there was such a port, and he didn't know anything else. What's more, he can't even remember what his former classmates looked like. Even the girl who was like a follower, who had liked him since childhood and chased him for more than 10 years until he was admitted to Tokyo University, had to go to the platform to confess to him that she would wait for him. What did she look like? He didn't even know. He only remembered that the girl's last name was Nanami, and she had reddish-brown hair. Just as they were enjoying the scenery, Two female college students with manicures and cool and beautiful clothes on the seats not far away looked at their figures, came back to their senses and looked at each other, and saw fear in each other's eyes. It's over, could it be Kurosawa's girlfriend? At this moment, there was no need to speak, their thoughts were exactly the same. Then, they picked up their phones and sent messages in tacit understanding. What should I do? What should I do? Almost at the same time, they opened each other's chat boxes and sent the same content. If Kaiking sees that the Kurosawa she has been thinking about comes back with such a beautiful girlfriend, she will definitely go crazy. I know. Kaiking will wait for us in Doiport, and we must find a way to get her away. What way? Don't just ask me, think about it together. These two girls are Kurosawa Hikaru's elementary school classmates and Nanami Kaiking's best friends. However, Kurosawa Hikaru can no longer recognize them. After many people enter college, they will gradually forget the appearance of their high school classmates as time goes by. They only remember vaguely that there is such a person, unless they meet in person to have a little impression, let alone elementary school classmates. Most people in the world will not remember their elementary school classmates, no matter their appearance or name. If you want to be remembered, you must be too special. For example, you are very beautiful, very handsome, and have done something impressive. It's still early, tell her to go swimming at the beach in the afternoon and let her go home to get her swimsuit. Yes, yes, yes. The Izu Peninsula is famous for its hot springs and sea views. It is a very famous leisure resort and holiday paradise. It is beautiful in all seasons and has pleasant scenery. It attracts many tourists every year. Locals will naturally go swimming in summer. This is a good reason. Then, they sent a message in the three-person group. Best friend B, Kaiking, it's so hot today, why don't we go swimming this afternoon? Kaiking, it's a bit hot indeed, I can. Best friend B, then go home and get your swimsuit. Kaiking, I'm at home, I haven't left yet, where are you guys? Best friend A, on the ship, just left. Kaiking, I'm already on the ship, why didn't you tell me, I'm leaving now. Seeing this reply, best friend B immediately got anxious and opened a private chat to send a message to best friend A. Why did you say we were on the ship? We were on the ship. If you say that, then there's no way to get Kaiking out of the way. She's still waiting to pick us up at Toyport as before. What should we do then? Best friend A saw this and her face changed, reacting. It takes an hour from Shimizu Port to Toyport, there's still a lot of time, don't send messages, I'll take care of it. Best friend B was really impressed by her stupidity and just told her. Best friend A didn't send a message, just nodded. Unable to send messages, best friend A suddenly became idle and couldn't help turning her head to look aside. Kurosawa's girlfriend is so beautiful, her hair and hairstyle are so beautiful, her clothes are so fashionable, her skin is so white and tender, and her nails are also beautiful. Is this a Tokyo girl? Best friend A looked at Ichino's Yuki by the boat and suddenly became fascinated. She couldn't help but say. This blonde girl is just like a fairy descending to the earth, from hair to toes, her whole body seems to glow, full of high-end feeling, which is completely different from the rustic girls like them in the countryside. She is so beautiful that just looking at her makes people feel inferior. Kaiking is not bad either. Seeing her boost the enemy's morale, best friend B, who was still thinking of a way, also looked back and whispered. She said this, but she didn't have much confidence. Kurosawa has changed a lot since he went to Tokyo to attend university. Best friend A shifted her gaze and looked at Kurosawa Hikaru on the side, muttering. When Kurosawa was admitted to the University of Tokyo and was on the platform of Shizuoka East Station to take the JR line to Tokyo, she went to see him off with Nanami Ayaharu. At that time, Kurosawa Hikaru was already shining and handsome, so handsome that people couldn't take their eyes off him, but now, he is even more handsome. Isn't that natural? The video of Kurosawa participating in the archery competition and the photo on the cover of the magazine made Ayaharu happy for a month. He has become more handsome. I'm not talking about this. I mean that Kurosawa's personality seems to have changed. He will smile when he is with that girl. Can you imagine the old Kurosawa smiling at girls? Hearing you say that, it seems so. Bestie B glanced back at Kurosawa Hikaru again, and saw the warm and gentle smile on the latter's face, and she was choked immediately. If it were the old Kurosawa Hikaru, he would be as cold as ice, and no girl would dare to approach him, and he would keep people away from him. Does Ayaharu have no chance? Bestia realized this change and suddenly felt a little desperate. As good friends for so many years, she knew that Kaiking had liked Kurosawa since she first saw him in kindergarten. But she also knew that Kurosawa had never smiled at Kaiking like this. Kurosawa was too mature, and he had been very mature since elementary school. He was not interested in love and believed in an idea. Love during school years is just a momentary impulse of love. Love is only true if it is based on marriage. As a good friend, she hopes that Kaiking's sincerity will impress Kurosawa one day. But before they waited for the day when their good friend got happy, Kurosawa got a girlfriend before graduating from the agreed university. Obviously, this blonde girl is very important to Kurosawa, like a beam of light that can change him and melt him. Kaiking will definitely have a chance. At this moment, best friend B couldn't hold back. Such whispers were inaudible under the sound of the waves of the ferry. However, Kurosawa Hikari's hearing was too sharp, and he heard everything clearly. Do they know me? Who is Kaiking? Seeing my competition videos and magazine photos can make me happy for a month. Could it be her? Kaiking, her name is Nanami Kaiking. Thinking about their conversation, a figure appeared in front of Kurosawa Hikari. It was a girl with long reddish-brown hair, and her facial features and appearance were very vague, because he had never looked at her straight in the eye. One update today, but the number of words is a lot, not much different from the second update. Another book recommendation. Title, Help. Dating with a senior is really terrible. Recommendation, if there is a girl who is full of sincere love for you and feels happy when she sees you, but she has a strong possessiveness, are you willing to have a relationship with such a girl? A single female protagonist love story, although the number of words is a bit small, but you can read it if you are interested. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 499. This name was pieced together by him. Even though the two girls didn't mention their last names, Kurosawa Hikaru had a vague feeling that the Ayaharu they were talking about was the Nanami classmate. It turns out her full name is Nanami Ayaharu. Kurosawa Hikari's mind was a little wandering. He had a mixed impression of Nanami Ayaharu. What was profound was that he knew that there was a girl who had liked him since kindergarten. Even when he was admitted to Tokyo University and got on the train leaving his hometown, the girl came to see him off and said she would wait for him to graduate. To put it bluntly, he couldn't even remember her appearance, but only had a little impression. It's not that he deliberately forgets, but after so many years, he only started to look at the girls around him seriously this year and has no intention of falling in love. Whether it is Ninomiya Chizuru or Shifunjin Mirai, they are all beautiful. Anyone who is not blind can see how beautiful they are, but he knows it is unrealistic. Both of these women are too outstanding and dazzling, and there is an insurmountable gap with him in terms of identity and position. The former is the identity difference between teachers and students, and the latter is the class difference between chaebol ladies and ordinary people. Even Miki Shiraha, who was regarded as the belle of Tokyo University as soon as he was admitted to Tokyo University, had no idea of falling in love. Because they had never met or spoken to each other at all. They only saw the schoolgirl at the freshman assembly, and they never had any interactions with each other again. Everyone has a love for beauty, no one doesn't like beautiful women, and he is no exception. Beautiful skin will make him interested and want to know more about her. However, he is definitely not just a beauty controller, and he cannot be reduced to a bitch. When it comes to his girlfriend's standards, he should say whether they are high or low, whether they should be low or low. It is important to have a good match. Before the system is awakened, the person who can have the idea of love before he achieves his goal and becomes an elite white-collar worker with an annual income of more than 10 million yen can only use online dating, text, voice, and video to confirm that he is a real person and is proficient in thousands of dollars. The female Neptune with layers of routines. His ex-girlfriend was quite good in all aspects, at least she showed him that she was really a good woman. She is beautiful, tall, and the school belle of other universities. She speaks well, has a high emotional intelligence, is humorous, knows astronomy and geography, and is also good at talking flirtatiously while driving. She can make men feel happy and tickle their minds. For such a high-ranking female Neptune, basically as long as she wants, I am afraid that most men can be chased by her, transform into an ATM machine, and spend money and give gifts to each other. However, he really enjoyed being in love with his ex-girlfriend, but it was impossible for him to pay for it. It's not that he is stingy, but he knows that his money does not fall from the sky. Even if it is 100 yen, it is earned by working part-time. I haven't even met in person, and I haven't even checked in the room. I just said a few sweet words through an online video, and you want him to pay? What a joke. Why was he so generous when spending money for Xiaoyuki? It was naturally because the emotional value and feedback that Xiaoyuki brought to him were too strong. Pretending to be her boyfriend for once, let alone the rewards of the system, whether it is throwing yourself into your arms when you first meet, or a knee pillow, or getting a room, and the benefits of growing strawberries, you will feel a sense of reward. What's more, Xiaoyuki is his girlfriend, he can see, touch, kiss and hug you, and she also likes and admires you very much. Such a wonderful girl should not be pampered. Brother Guang, look at Mount Fuji. At this moment, Yuki Ichino's grabbed his arm, shook it, and pointed in a direction. Kurosawa Hikari came back to his senses, followed the direction of her snow-white jade arms, and saw a magnificent mountain in the distant horizon. No matter where you go, you can see Mount Fuji. Ichino's Yuki looked at the mountain in the distance and couldn't help but sigh. Have you been to Mount Fuji? Kurosawa Hikaru came back to his senses, looked at her smile, and put away his idle thoughts. Mount Fuji is an attraction that cannot be bypassed by neon lights. Its presence is strong enough to overshadow all famous scenic spots. No, where is Brother Guang? Ichino's Yuki shook her head. After all, she was JK. She was still young and not very interested in traveling. Naturally, she had never been to many places. Neither do I, then let's go together. Kurosawa Hikaru smiled and suggested. He had been busy studying before, and it had only been a few months since he got the system. Perhaps in the case of dating tasks, his daily schedule is very full and he has experienced various things, but the time is still too short. Yet, Ichino's Yuki didn't expect such an unexpected surprise and nodded hurriedly, fearing that he would regret it. For her, as long as she is with Brother Guang, no matter where she goes, it is worth being happy. In fact, even if she doesn't go anywhere and just stays at Brother Guang's house, she still likes it, discussing life together and learning knowledge together, day after day. Ugh. With the sound of the whistle, the ship docked and arrived at Doi Port on the Izu Peninsula. Nothing special happened in Doi Port, except that many people recognized Kurosawa Hikaru and looked at the two of them. Is that the Kurosawa child? He's become more handsome. What a beautiful girl. Did Kurosawa bring a girlfriend back? She is still holding an umbrella. Girls in big cities are different from girls here. They are exquisite. My skin is so fair. Wouldn't it be a loss if I got tanned without an umbrella? Today's young people always spray sunscreen when going out and pay great attention to their skincare. I actually brought my girlfriend back. It seems that the girl from the Totomatsu family is going to be sad. Alas, my daughter knows about this, and I'm afraid she won't be in the mood to eat tonight. Many adults working near Toyport cast their eyes at Kurosawa Hikari, became energetic, and started talking about it. Unlike at Clearwater Port, where someone recognized Kurosawa's identity and just whispered, the communication between these adults was more cheerful and loud. Kurosawa Hikaru is so famous in the small place of Izu Peninsula, the girls who like him can even form a long queue, and he is the dream lover of every daughter. Brother Guang, many people know you. Ichi knows Yuki followed Kurosawa Hikaru under an umbrella and couldn't help but sigh when listening to everyone's words. It is actually normal for people of the same age to know Brother Guang, maybe they are the same generation and the same school. But everyone knows Brother Guang, so the meaning is different. Normal. Kurosawa Hikaru responded to the glances from those uncles and aunts with a warm smile and waved hello, although he could not recognize any of them, let alone call them by name. Maybe he was in the metropolis of Tokyo and few people knew him when walking on the street. Even if he won the National University Archery competition, not many people would recognize him. But just like Miki Shiraha, who is not well known in Tokyo, but is a famous person in his hometown in Hokkaido, he is also the #1 famous person in the Izu Peninsula of Shizuoka Prefecture. What's more, his father sells oden. Although he doesn't have much of a shop and is just a vendor, he is also a small boss. He has worked in such a small city for many years and has a wide network of contacts. Is this normal? Yuki Ichinos thinks it's amazing that all the uncles and aunties of the older generation know you. Take another bus and wait until I'm near my house, and you'll understand. Seeing that she didn't understand, Kurosawa smiled. What everyone said was that someone's daughter was going to be sad. He naturally heard it, but didn't pay much attention to it. Because in Izu Peninsula, there are too many girls who have a crush on him. Since elementary school, every Valentine's Day, a lot of girls give him chocolates. It's not like he was bragging. If he was a lolicon, he would have already flooded the Izu Peninsula with artillery fire. Not long after, Kurosawa Hikaru took her to the port station, waited for a car, and started to go home. It's better to drive when you come back from winter vacation. After changing trains several times in succession, from the Shinkansen to the tram and then to the bus, Kurosawa Hikaru realized that going home like this was no ordinary trouble, and he secretly made a decision. Although he has not tried how long it takes to drive from his hometown to Tokyo, it is relatively convenient to drive directly. Watching the two of them get on the bus, Nanami Ayaharu's two best friends did not get on the bus, but waited for the next bus. What should we do now? Everyone knows Kurosawa. The fact that he brought a girlfriend back to his hometown will probably spread throughout Izu tonight, and Ayaharu will definitely know about it. Best friend B, who stayed behind, had a headache. Although she tried to get Kaiking away, she suddenly realized that she could not hide forever. Kurosawa is one of the most famous figures in the Izu Peninsula in recent years, just like a regional star. As a genius in Izu, he was admitted to Tokyo University with excellent results. This incident even alarmed the mayor of Izu City. In addition, just this summer vacation, Kurosawa seemed to have won the National College Archery competition, and was also on the cover of an archery magazine, which was another hot moment. It is no exaggeration to say that every move and action of Kurosawa Hikaru is like a dinner table conversation in every household. For example, if Kurosawa Hikaru returns to his hometown, even if he doesn't do anything, it won't take a day for the news to reach everyone's ears. For example, taking a girlfriend back to my hometown to visit relatives. Such big gossip news will only spread faster. You can't even figure out how I know. Best friend thinks she is not smart, so she just feels like her head hurts when faced with this problem. Forget it, you can't hide it, at least Iking didn't suddenly bump into Kurosawa and was unprepared. Best friend B thought about it and couldn't think of a good move, so she had to accept her fate. In her opinion, Iking would definitely fail if she bumped into Kurosawa and her girlfriend by surprise. What's more, even if you are prepared for a collision, your chances of winning are not good. Because Kurosawa's girlfriend is so beautiful, like a female star on the screen or a model in a magazine, from her silky hair to the tips of her toes, they seem to be glowing. It's not that she has never seen beautiful women before. After all, the internet in this era is too developed, but after all, she saw it on her mobile phone, on the internet, and on TV. When she saw such a beautiful girl in real life, the impact was completely different. If there were levels of beauty, she felt that Kurosawa Hikaru's girlfriend was definitely at the top level, perfect and impeccable. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 500. The Kurosawa family is a Japanese-style main house with a courtyard. It is an old house. It is traditional and has a pleasant antique look. Mother, Agwang said they will be home soon. In the living room on the first floor, which was paved with wooden floors, Kurosawa Yuma glanced at his phone and shouted, "I know, come down right now." As he shouted, Kurosawa Yaoi's voice also came from upstairs. After reminding his wife, Kurosawa Yuma stood up, walked to the side and picked up a small mirror, and straightened his clothes again. He wants to make his image as good as possible, after all, the first impression is very important. Yeah. No problem. After sorting it out for a few times, Kurosawa Yuma nodded with satisfaction. I have never been so nervous when meeting my father-in-law. After coming back to his senses, Kurosawa Yuma couldn't help but smile bitterly. Ultimately, he didn't want to embarrass his son. After a while, Kurosawa Yayoi also came to the living room. She was also upstairs sorting out her image in front of the mirror. How long until Agwang gets home? 10 minutes. I don't know what Agwang's girlfriend is like. Agwang said she is beautiful and cute. Agwang has been chased by so many girls since he was a child, but he never fell in love. But when he went to Tokyo, he fell in love with one. She is absolutely beautiful. It doesn't matter if she's beautiful or not, as long as Agwang likes her. No. Kurosawa Yuma naturally understands this truth. I hope his girlfriend won't dislike our family being old and broken. Having settled the matter, Kurosawa Yayoi looked at her home and stood with her hands on her hips, feeling a little guilty. Ever since she received a message from Agwang last night saying she was going home today, she and her husband had been busy cleaning the house all morning to make the house look as clean and tidy as possible. However, no matter how well it is organized, an old house is still an old house. Definitely not. Is our family bad? And that's the girl Agwang likes. She's definitely not that superficial. Kurosawa Yuma saw that she was sentimental again and immediately comforted her. Yeah. Kurosawa Yayoi thought about it and believed the statement. After that, she didn't rest and walked into the kitchen to make further preparations. When my son's girlfriend comes, I must entertain her well. Not long after, an old-fashioned doorbell rang in the house. Beep. Coming. Kurosawa Yuma, who was standing in front of the entrance, glanced at his wife, who also quickly moved, put on slippers and walked over to open the door. As the door opened, a blonde girl came into view. This scene stunned Kurosawa Yuma and Kurosawa Yayoi, and then they looked at each other, and they both saw shock in each other's eyes. Because this girl is so beautiful, she looks like a beautiful girl from TV. The golden hair is like the golden beach under the scorching sun, shining with strands, and like the waves, with the ups and downs of the waves. The beautiful blue eyes are clear and translucent, shining like gems. The beautiful face looks like it was carved out of shape. The nose is straight and the face is small and perfect. She has a good figure, white and soft skin, and is wearing a fairy skirt. She looks very ladylike and elegant. They knew that their son was very picky. He had been pursued by so many beautiful girls since he was a child, but none of them had agreed to it. They had expected it. Even so, this girl's beauty still exceeded their imagination. Because they have never seen such a beautiful girl, her beauty is like a beam of light, making this old house shine. Even though Izu Peninsula is a neon-famous tourist destination, with many tourists coming every year, and even many well-known female stars coming to take photos, it is still not as good as this girl. Uncle and Aunt, I am Ichino's Yuki, I am Hikari-san's girlfriend. This is our first meeting. Please give me some advice. Being stared at by them, Ichino's Yuki was extremely nervous. She bowed suddenly and mustered up the courage to speak. Hello, I am Agwang's mother. Kurosawa Yayoi came to her senses and smiled from ear to ear. She was really shocked. She never expected that Agwang's girlfriend was so beautiful and outstanding. Hello, I am Agwang's father. Kurosawa Yuma also spoke. Their voices had the accent of Izu dialect. This is something that is difficult to change. They have grown up in this land since they were young, and they don't like to go out. They play with neighbors and friends on weekdays, mostly speaking in dialect. Dad, Mom, I'm back. As they met for the first time, Kurosawa Hikaru pulled the suitcase and walked out from the side. Looking at the expressions of the two elders, he smiled. Between his words also had a hint of dialect. Agwang, welcome home. Kurosawa Yayoi is 158 centimeters tall. She looks up at her tall son who has inherited his father's genes and is very happy. You kid, you're still hiding. Kurosawa Yuma stood on the edge of the corridor, extremely happy to see his son coming home. As a father, he wanted to maintain his dignity, but he couldn't help but smile and curse. Her name is Xiao Yuki, how about it? Are you satisfied with our future daughter-in-law? Seeing the enthusiasm and unconcealable joy of the two elders, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled as he walked into the home. From this point of view, the surprise he just gave was very effective. Satisfied, so satisfied. Kurosawa Yayoi looked at the way they stood together. They were talented and beautiful, just like a golden boy. How could he be dissatisfied? Is your name Ichinos? Come in and sit down first. Kurosawa Yuma looked at this particularly well-behaved girl and quickly welcomed her into his home. Thank you, excuse me. Uncle, just call me Yuki. Seeing their enthusiasm, Ichino's Yuki felt flattered and followed them into the home. In a purely Japanese-style house, if you clean it diligently, you usually don't wear shoes at home. Slippers are only provided in places like the toilet and entrance. This house is old and small, I hope you don't mind. Waiting for her to take off her high-heeled sandals and stand barefoot in the corridor, Kurosawa Yayoi looked extremely fond of this future daughter-in-law and found her looking around curiously, and couldn't help but feel timid. This girl is as beautiful as a beam of light, shining brightly in this old house, and she feels out of place. Izu locals probably don't think much of an old house like hers, but in the eyes of city dwellers in a big city like Tokyo, it might seem very backward and old-fashioned. No, how could it be? This house is big and beautiful. Yuki Ichinos, who couldn't help but look around curiously, shook his head hurriedly when he heard this. In fact, in terms of the size of the house, her house is not as big as this house. In addition, this traditional Japanese-style house looks really beautiful and gives her a sense of freshness. It is not easy to see a house like this in Tokyo, unless you are really rich. Mom, Our house is not bad, there is no need for you to say such things. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that his mother was showing a little timidity, and he also supported the family. While they were talking, they came to the living room where the air conditioner had been turned on and felt cool. Yuki, do you prefer tea or water? Kurosawa Yayoi waited until they sat down, looked at her future daughter-in-law eagerly, and asked. Auntie, I can do it. Ichi knows Yuki was always very measured when she went to her friends' houses and never made any demands, let alone when she came to her boyfriend's hometown and faced her parents-in-law. Mom, it was a little hot when we walked home just now. Please pour 2 glasses of ice water. When Kurosawa Hikaru returns home, he is naturally welcome. If it were normal, he would definitely go get some water by himself if he wanted to drink water, but Xiao Yuki had just arrived and it was hard for him to leave. After all, this girl is still young and is very nervous around her parents-in-law. The child's father, come with me to get some fruit. Kurosawa Yayoi had always doted on her son. Seeing that he was getting hot, she naturally agreed and said hello while turning towards the kitchen. Okay. Kurosawa Yuma knew that she was a drunkard and was not interested in drinking. If she wanted to talk to him, he would naturally follow her. Are my parents that terrible? After they separated for the time being, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but find it funny as he watched the 2 elders walk into the kitchen and looked sideways at Yuki, who breathed a sigh of relief. No, I just... Ichi knows Yuki knew that her nervousness was not good, but she didn't know how to explain it. Relax, you can see, they are happy with you. Kurosawa Hikaru reached out and patted her back gently, injecting courage and energy into her. Maybe Xiao Yuki is timid about meeting her parents, but as a girlfriend, she has excellent qualities in all aspects, especially her appearance. Yuki Ichi-nose nodded, adjusting his mood and state. Seeing that she was taking a deep breath, Kurosawa didn't urge her. Meanwhile, in the kitchen. I didn't expect Agwang's girlfriend to be so beautiful. If I had known about it, I would have decorated it. I hope she really doesn't mind. Kurosawa Yayoi took out a kettle filled with ice water from the refrigerator, turned on the faucet, picked up 2 cups to wash, and sighed at the sound of water. Agwang finally found such a beautiful and well-behaved girlfriend. She didn't want to create a gap in her heart because of insufficient family conditions. There's no need to renovate it. This house is too small, so it's just like that. If you have the money to renovate it, why not build a Gwanga house in Tokyo? They will definitely live in Tokyo. Kurosawa Yuma also felt that this old house was unavailable, but his thoughts were different from hers. I've saved it for so many years, but I don't know if it's enough. I asked a friend about it. A house built by one family in Tokyo in a slightly better location, including decoration, costs about 50 million. We have saved 27 million for so many years. We will save more this year and next year. Then get a loan from the bank, collect the money, and build a house for Agwang before he graduates. Right. Kurosawa Yayoi listened more to her husband and nodded slightly. Kurosawa, who has very keen hearing, heard the conversation in the kitchen and couldn't help but sigh. 27 million, I don't know how many years my parents have saved it. Although Neon's parents basically don't buy wedding houses for their children, the vast majority of young men and women rent houses when they get married. But his parents may be proud of him and dote on him. They have worked hard for him over the years and want to prepare everything for him. It's a pity, if he didn't want to drive little Yuki back to his hometown in the car sent by Sister Kinhee, but instead drove the Maybach home directly, his parents would have known that his son was successful and making a lot of money. But even if there is no Maybach, it is not difficult to prove to them that my son is making money. However, Kurosawa Hikaru soon felt relieved. It has been 2 months since the establishment of Zero Hour Agency. He didn't know how much money he made in these days, but it was definitely not a small amount. Let alone the big contract for the copyright of the song, just the contract for fulfilling his obligations these days. Once it arrives, his deposit will definitely be in the hundreds of millions. Brother Guang, I'm not nervous anymore. Ichi-nose Yuki, who was still taking a deep breath to adjust her mood, saw him sighing and thought he was disappointed in herself, so she immediately said, "It's okay, I'm not sighing at you." Seeing that she was like a scared little rabbit, Kurosawa Guang put away his thoughts, touched her head, and comforted her. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 501. The fruit plate and tea were brought to the coffee table. After Kurosawa talked with her husband, she felt less timid. When she came to the sofa and sat down, she took her future daughter-in-law and chatted about home affairs. As expected, she actually asked how the two people met. This is a very common question, and she asked others. When she learned that Yuki-chan was 18 years old and was a female high school student, Kurosawa Yayoi couldn't hide her surprise and glanced at Hikaru Kurosawa. Because she never expected that her son would date a high school student. Guang has been very precocious since he was a child. In front of his peers, he is just like a child. This was true in kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, and even high school. For so many years, the attitude he showed was that he looked down upon his peers at all. Because of this, she once thought that her son was influenced by her beautiful mother and liked Nianchang more. It's hard to tell a girl's age from her appearance, especially in Neon, where every girl likes to wear makeup. In her opinion, even if this daughter-in-law is not an older sister, she is at least a college student. Unexpectedly, she is a high school student. Is it because of his looks? This is the type Guang likes. Surprised, Kurosawa Yayoi looked at Ichi-nose Yuki's appearance and found a reasonable explanation. She originally thought that the daughter of the Nanami family, who had been a well-known beauty since childhood, was already too beautiful to say anything, but compared with this Yuki, there was still a certain gap. Maybe it's because he grew up in a big city, but the feeling Ichi-nose Yuki brings to people is so different that it's hard to describe. Anyway, it's very beautiful. Are you still a model? After asking a few more questions, Kurosawa Yayoi was shocked to learn that she was actually working and that she was also a model. No wonder Guang is so beautiful and has a model girlfriend. Kurosawa Hikaru felt a little funny when his mother looked at him from time to time, but he also felt a sense of accomplishment. Because he can feel that his mother is very satisfied with Yuki and likes her very much. Girls talk about girls, and men naturally talk about men. Have you grown taller? Kurosawa Yumo looked at his son and said. He had just walked from the entrance to the living room. It might not have been a long distance, but he could clearly feel that Guang looked taller. In addition, his personality seems to be a little more cheerful and he has become more smiley. After I went to college, I exercised a bit. Kurosawa nodded slightly to confirm this, and was also looking at his father. Although his father was a small stall selling oden, which was considered a shaded stall, the traces of time were already left on his face because he was exposed to the wind and sun all year round and worked outdoors. Perhaps because he was meeting his daughter-in-law today, he was clean-shaven. If he had a beard, he might look more aged. It's good to exercise, it's good for your body. Kurosawa Yumo laughed when he learned about this. The hard-working father is always not good at speaking to his children at home. It is especially gratifying that my son is so outstanding, smart, and sensible, and has not needed his guidance since he was a child. After chatting for half an hour, at 12:40, Kurosawa ran to make lunch without finishing her business. You guys sit down for a while and I'll cook. It'll only take half an hour. Auntie, let me help. Seeing this, Ichi-nose Yuki also actively followed him, very diligently. How could Kurosawa Yayoi agree to this proposal? After all, he was a first-time guest. However, Ichi knows Yuki is quite good at talking, and the chat just now was very enjoyable. Taking this as an excuse, the two of them finally walked into the kitchen together. Houses in the countryside actually don't have any big problems except that their styles are relatively old. Because it is in the countryside, house prices and land prices are relatively cheap, and the houses are usually larger. You should cherish your girlfriend. She will always look at you when chatting with your mother. She likes you very much. Seeing this girl with a cheerful and energetic personality and a very pretty smile following his wife into the kitchen, Kurosawa Yuma also liked the behavior of his daughter-in-law, so he turned around and warned her. This girl couldn't hide her love for Agwang. In this day and age, it is truly a blessing to meet a girl whose heart and eyes are full of you. New. Kurosawa Hikaru smiled, naturally measured about this, but still nodded in agreement. How many days do you plan to stay when you come back this time? Putting this matter aside, Kurosawa Yuma was also concerned. I'm going to Tokyo on Tuesday. I have a job and she has a job. You are still in college. You can actually concentrate on your studies. If you don't have enough money, you can tell me. Kurosawa Yuma realized that he was staying for 3 days in order to rush back to work and said immediately. Working is not only to make money, but also to adapt to society and train yourself. Since Hikaru Kurosawa found a part-time job as a tutor, he has not asked for a penny from his family, and will send money home. There will never be a situation where he does not have enough money to spend. Agwang, that child is younger than you and not as mature as you. If she makes a mistake and makes you unhappy, don't break up easily. Give her more tolerance and opportunities. Because his son was too smart, Kurosawa Yuma did not discuss this topic much and went back to it. In terms of study, career, life planning, values, etc., he is definitely not as smart as his son. However, he has eaten 26 more years of rice than his son, so he still has a say in relationships. After all, when it comes to love, he is a winner in life. I don't know how many people envied him for marrying such a beautiful wife. Don't worry, as long as she doesn't break up with me, I will never break up with her. The two people can come together because of fate and timing. You must not think that you are still young and handsome, and there will be no shortage of women even if you break up. How can it be? Kurosawa Hikaru had never had such an idea. He was confident just because he was handsome. That was too arrogant. Missing a good girl will make you regret it for life. Seeing that he had no such thoughts at all, Kurosawa Yuma felt relieved and couldn't help but sigh. No. Kurosawa Hikaru naturally understands this truth. Whether it's Xiaoyuki, Chizuru, Mirai, Shiraha, Miss Runa, it would be fine if they weren't together, but if they had an emotional and substantial relationship after contact, he would have difficulty letting go and feel regretful if he broke up with anyone. Ever since the system awakened, had his first date with Xiaoyuki, and received the mission reward, his mentality had actually undergone earth-shaking changes. But even so, he always kept one thing in mind. Everyone turns a blind eye to the fact that he has 5 boats, which shows their tolerance for him and their willingness to make concessions in order to be with him. He is a person who repays kindness. He knows that everyone is kind to him, so he also works hard to be kind to everyone. Speaking of which, sooner or later it will be known that I have 5 girlfriends. How can I say anything? When he came back to his senses, he realized that his father had always told him to cherish little Yuki. Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly realized a problem. If his parents knew that their son was a scumbag, he didn't know what their reaction would be. This thing is probably even more incredible than his parents knowing that he is now a billionaire. In addition, the matter of him running 5 boats has not yet been resolved. Because Bayu is the 5th girlfriend, others don't know yet. This is also a big problem, and he must put his effort into handling it properly. What's wrong? Kurosawa Yuma noticed something strange in his expression, and suddenly felt strange. Could this kid have already missed a certain girl? Dad, didn't you say that you and my mother were in first love? Why do I feel like you have missed a certain girl and regretted it for the rest of your life? Kurosawa Hikaru came back to his senses, thinking of his sighing tone just now, and asked in turn. "Shh, don't talk nonsense. Your mother and I are really in love for the first time." Hearing this, Kurosawa Yuma's expression changed drastically. He turned his head in horror and glanced in the direction of the kitchen before stopping him. "Then why did you look so experienced just now? Your dad has lived for so many years. Even if he hasn't experienced anything, he has seen a lot." In order to avoid his misunderstanding, Kurosawa Yuma felt guilty, but still confident. Realizing that he was just talking on paper and probably gained experience from some Japanese drama, Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head in amusement and did not make a fuss about this topic. After lunch, Yuki Ichino's wanted to help wash the dishes. This time, Kurosawa Yayoi firmly drove her out of the kitchen. Maybe it was because they had only known each other for more than an hour, but she really liked this future daughter-in-law. Hard-working, sweet-tongued, and beautiful, the key is that she can feel that Yuki's love for her son is very real. As the saying goes, she likes her son, and her daughter-in-law also likes her son, which means that they have the same vision. The sun was very strong, and it was a new arrival. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to go out to play, but planned to wait until night to take Xiaoyuki out for a walk. In the afternoon, I spent time playing at home. Kurosawa Hikaru also took Xiaoyuki upstairs to his room and put away his luggage. So many books. Yuki Ichino's was surprised by his room. There were books on the wall. What's more, that's not all, there is also a utility room with a lot of books. After visiting the room, she also took out 2 gifts wrapped in gift boxes from the suitcase, encouraged Kurosawa Hikaru to go downstairs, and gave them to her uncle and aunt. The effect of giving gifts to gain favorability is very strong. Kurosawa Yayoi was so happy that she took out the family photo album and shared it with her. "Brother Guang, you were too cute when you were a kid." Cool, cool, cool feeling. When Yuki Ichino saw the family photo album, she was extremely excited and amazed. When someone saw his childhood photos, Hikaru Kurosawa didn't know how to describe the feeling, so he could only force a smile. Fortunately, he was precocious since he was a child, so he didn't leave any dark history. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 502. As the sun sets and night falls, after dinner, Kurosawa Mitsuru takes Yuki out to stroll around, take a walk, and see the scenery. In the vicinity of his hometown, wherever he goes, there is no one who doesn't know him. It's true, Kurosawa has a girlfriend. Some people come home after a busy day at work, and only heard about it during the day. Now they see Kurosawa Mitsuru walking hand in hand with a girl, which feels very novel. You know, even if Kurosawa has been liked by many girls since he was a child, he has never been seen walking with a girl, let alone holding hands. Wow, Kurosawa brother's girlfriend is so beautiful, like a fairy. The little loli from the neighbor's house stared at Yuki Ichino's with wide eyes, and was really amazed. Everyone has a love of beauty, and children's instinct in this regard is even stronger. It is no exaggeration to say that children have no resistance to beautiful things. Mom, I want to find such a beautiful girlfriend in the future." An elementary school student who was taken out for a walk by his mother after dinner shook his mother's hand and said coquettishly, "Then you have to study hard." Brother Kurosawa was admitted to the University of Tokyo and found such a beautiful girlfriend. Hearing this, the young mother retracted her gaze and seized the opportunity to educate her child. On the Izu Peninsula, Kurosawa is a benchmark for families to educate their children. "Dad, I want to find a boyfriend as handsome as brother Kurosawa like that big sister." On the other side, the little Lolita who was riding a big horse, holding her father's head with both hands, was also ambitious. This. Unlike the young mother who seized the opportunity to educate her child, the father didn't know how to respond when he heard the innocent words of the child. Do you understand the Izu dialect? Kurosawa Hikaru found that Xiaoyuki was laughing happily and was a little surprised. I understand a little bit. Everyone is praising you and thinks you have found a super beautiful girlfriend. Ichi-nose Yuki giggled and hugged his arm happily. Although she had no confidence before, she found the experience very interesting when she came to Guang's hometown. Of course. Kurosawa Guang saw that she was laughing foolishly because of this, and it was a little funny. I have to say that it feels really good to take little Yuki to the street. This feeling is not much inferior to his shining appearance in front of the family restaurant when he drove the Maybach. During the conversation, they walked into a convenience store. Guanga, what are you going to buy? Ichi-nose Yuki came to the convenience store just after dinner. Looking at the things on the shelves, she didn't have any desire to buy, but was curious. Buy you a towel, a toothbrush, and a cup. I brought a towel and a toothbrush. You have to buy it even if you bring it. You will come again in the future. I will prepare a set for you, so you don't need to bring those things next time. Kurosawa Guang saw that she brought a toothbrush and a towel when she opened the suitcase to take out the gift at noon, but he still planned to buy them for her. Will you bring me back next time? Ichi-nose Yuki was a little surprised. What else? Then. Ichi-nose Yuki hesitated to speak. She couldn't understand why Brother Guang had so many girlfriends. He had to bring others home, right? If she was the only one to meet her parents-in-law, she felt it was unfair to others. Do you think you will only come once in your life? Or do you think it's meaningless and don't want to come next time? Kurosawa Hikari noticed her doubts and didn't say it clearly, just said. How could I not want to come? Thank you, Brother Guang. Ichi-nose Yuki immediately denied it when she heard it, and then laughed. Thinking carefully, Brother Guang is much smarter than her, and he will definitely find a way, so she doesn't have to worry too much. Convenience stores in Neon are everywhere, and daily necessities are very complete. Kurosawa Hikari bought a set of toiletries casually, picked up a few boxes of Akamoto 001 in the corner and came to the counter to check out. Brother Guang, what are you buying that for? As the female clerk looked on with a smile, Yuki Ichino's pretty face flushed slightly, and she asked reluctantly. I can't help it, my dad asked me to buy it. Kurosawa Hikari saw that she didn't like this thing, and he had a headache. This girl is good in every way, but she is too young, and she doesn't know how to write the word danger. Did you buy it for your uncle? Yuki Ichino's was shocked when she heard this. Buying Akamoto for her dad shocked her greatly. Is this how father and son get along? He thinks you are still a high school student, and he is worried that I won't pay attention to safety, so he asked me to buy it. I can show it to him later. Kurosawa Hikari found that she had thought wrong, and explained. Oh. I didn't expect there would be such a thing, and Yuki Ichino's put away her divergent thoughts. Let's go home. After solving the misunderstanding, Kurosawa Hikari stood at the door of the convenience store, looked around, and made a decision. Izu Peninsula is not big, but not small either. Based on his experience last year, whenever he goes back to his hometown, whenever he goes out, he will definitely run into Nanami Ayaharu. Although it was an encounter, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Nanami Ayaharu was deliberately trying to find out about him and was specifically looking for him, but she was just pretending to run into him by chance. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence in the world that he could run into her just by going out to buy 2 bottles of drinks? If it was in the past, he wouldn't have cared. After all, people just come up to you to chat with you, try to have an awkward chat with you, and then it's over. But it's different now. He came back with Xiaoyuki. If he bumps into him again, it can only be said to be unnecessary trouble. Aren't you going to go shopping? Ichi-nose Yuki was a little surprised. It had been less than 10 minutes since they had finished eating and went out for a walk. Then let's go shopping again. Kurosawa noticed her attitude and seemed to still want to go shopping, so he naturally followed her. After all, it was her first time in Izu, so it was normal to want to look around. Although he didn't want to see Nanami Haru, Xiaoyuki came to his hometown to play, so he couldn't hide at home for 3 days, right? I can't see much scenery at night. I'll wait until tomorrow to see it. Seeing that he was accommodating her, Ichi-nose Yuki looked sideways at his face, thinking of Akamoto 001 just now. The blush on his pretty face evoked a smile. What's so beautiful about the scenery? Wouldn't it be more fun to play at home with your boyfriend? Then go home. Seeing her smile, Kurosawa Hikaru naturally understood what she was thinking and smiled. After that, they took steps together and walked on the way they came. But not long after leaving, Ichi-nose Yuki suddenly felt someone staring at her, and subconsciously looked back. At the entrance of the convenience store, a middle-aged man walked in, and a mother and daughter were holding hands. They looked very harmonious. Illusion. Ichi-nose Yuki looked at the right side of the convenience store. After searching carefully, he was a little surprised. This convenience store is built in a single building, with small alleys on both sides, making it a shadowy place that cannot be illuminated by light. If someone was staring at her, he could only hide in that alley as soon as he noticed her turning back. What's wrong? Kurosawa followed her movements and asked. Fine. When Ichi-nose Yuki saw brother Hikaru beside him, he shook his head and gave up the idea of exploring. Regardless of whether it was an illusion or not, brother Guang was by her side right now, and she had nothing to be afraid of. Holding Xiaoyuki's hand and taking her home, Kurosawa Hikaru's face showed no strange color and his mind sank. His senses are very strong, but his sense of sight is not as sharp as Xiaoyuki's. He has been accustomed to going his own way since he was a child, and he doesn't care what others think of him. In contrast, Xiaoyuki has been bullied and looked at strangely by others, and is particularly sensitive to sight. Because there was a period of being criticized and bullied, Xiaoyuki's heart was not strong enough and she was very fragile. With this understanding, Kurosawa Hikaru can conclude that Xiaoyuki's turning back just now was definitely not without reason. He probably turned around suddenly because he felt that he was being stared at. You will go home later and take a shower first. I'll wash it first, shouldn't we wash it together? Let's talk about it when we get back to Tokyo. The bathroom in my hometown is shared. If we wash together, my parents will know about it. All right. While Kurosawa was chatting, he turned his head to look at the alley on the right side of the convenience store where Xiaoyuki was staring at just now. With a casual glance and averting his gaze, Kurosawa Hikaru had already confirmed that there was a figure peeking over in the darkness of the alley. Maybe he was hiding in the shadows, but Hikaru Kurosawa's eyesight was so sharp, enhanced by his perfect level of archery skills. It was a girl with long reddish-brown hair, quite pretty, wearing a cyan dress, with a slender figure, about 1.6 meters tall. Even in the shadows and the light is not bright, you can tell that she is a beauty. A real beauty, even if her face cannot be seen, can attract men's attention just by her back, side profile, or even a silhouette. Are you really here? I'm with my girlfriend, and it would be rude for you to come here. However, Kurosawa Hikaru was not very happy to discover her existence. He just hoped that she would be smarter and not cause him any trouble. He has no interest in Nanami Haru, he really is not interested. Maybe it was because she was too familiar with her, but I didn't feel anything at all. After all, I had watched her grow up. Maybe it was because she had been like a follower since she was a child, too clingy and annoying to him. He forgot the specific reason and couldn't remember it for a while. But one thing is for sure, for so many years, he has not been tempted by Nanami Ayaharu's pursuit, and it is not without reason. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 503. After a long journey, people are usually tired and in urgent need of rest. After waiting for Xiaoyuki to take a bath first, Kurosawa Hikaru also took a good bath. Back in the room, Kurosawa Hikaru opened the door, and the cool and refreshing air hit his face. On hot summer days, there's no place more comfortable than an air-conditioned room. In bed so soon. Kurosawa Hikaru walked into the room, saw little Yuki covered with a thin quilt on the bed, and teased a little funny. Because of custom, even though it is a traditional Japanese-style old house, his room has been decorated, not in the tatami style where the bedding is taken out when sleeping, but with a large bed. Although sleeping on a futon is quite comfortable, for example that night at the Hot Spring Hotel in Hakone with Chizuru-san, it was full of atmosphere and freshness, but it was okay to sleep on it a few times now and then. For a long time, he still liked having a bed. Because Brother Guang's bed is very comfortable. Faced with his teasing, Ichi-nose Yuki blushed, smiled, raised her arms and then lowered them. This movement lifted a corner of the quilt, and then quickly fell down. However, Kurosawa Hikaru's eyesight is so powerful, he saw everything even if it happened in a flash. Little Yuki, who had just taken a shower, was actually wearing a black sexy nightgown with fine, soft fabric and as thin as silk under the thin quilt. The beautiful legs under the skirt were turned sideways and wrapped in black silk as thin as cicada wings. The photo was taken heartbreaking. Realizing his true identity under the quilt, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly stopped breathing and his eyes went straight. Obviously, this was a surprise from Xiaoyuki. There are few men who don't like black stockings, and if they do, they prefer stockings of other colors. It has to be said that Xiaoyuki's actions immediately stopped him. Originally, he had thought of closing the door and speaking openly, and the two of them would have a heart-to-heart talk and ask her what she thought of her parents, her hometown in Izu, and so on. Because it was still very early, not even 9 o'clock. As a result, Xiaoyuki didn't want to talk at all, so she put on such a set of clothes while he was taking a shower, clearly trying to seduce him. There's really nothing I can do about you. Kurosawa Hikaru came to his senses, closed the door quietly with his backhand, and walked over. What I have to admit is that this is what he did. Brother Guang, you laugh so cheaply. Ichi-nose Yuki couldn't help but say when she saw him closing the door and walking over step by step, still saying helpless words, as if he was getting an advantage and being obedient. GGG. Facing her accusation, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't say anything. Instead, he climbed onto the bed with a strange smile, lifted a corner of the quilt, and lay down in it. If you really want to find a place in this world that is more comfortable than an air-conditioned room, it must be the gentle land of beauty. As night falls, every house lights up. After a busy day, many people hug their wives and those with girlfriends hug their girlfriends. Unconsciously, the night got darker and the streets became quiet. Unlike the big city of Tokyo, the nights on the Izu Peninsula are particularly quiet. Outside the Kurosawa family's courtyard wall, in the midnight darkness, a black shadow stood there. I don't know since when, the black shadow has been standing there, always raising his head, looking at a window on the second floor that is blocked by curtains and always lit. Until the lights disappeared, the black shadow still stood there, watching silently. It waited until early morning before turning around and leaving. Walking in the dark and passing through a street lamp, its shadow-shrouded appearance is revealed. It was a woman with long brown red hair, walking slowly and heavily, but she quickly walked out of the range of the street lights and was once again obscured by darkness. Maybe it was because he returned to his hometown, but Kurosawa Hikaru slept particularly soundly that night. The next morning, Kurosawa Hikaru felt something and woke up. What came into view was the sexy and beautiful little Yuki with her nightgown in a mess, sitting up as if she wanted to get up. "Brother Guang, good morning." Being stared at by him, Itchy Nose Yuki's pretty face turned red. She leaned down and pecked him gently on the face, then kissed him and said sweetly. Her long golden hair fell down, her bright smile, and her already beautiful face looked particularly bright. Faced with such a good morning kiss, Kurosawa's response was to grab her hand, pull her into his arms, directly cover her soft and delicate lips, and fight with her for another 300 rounds. It was approaching noon, and Kurosawa Yayoi had to get up because she shouted from the first floor that lunch was ready. "Dad, Mom, why don't you eat first?" When he came to the living room, Kurosawa Hikaru saw his parents sitting in front of the sofa. There were dishes on the dining table not far away, but there were no bowls and chopsticks. "Why did you wake up so late?" Kurosawa Yayoi couldn't help but complain when she saw them. She woke up early in the morning, waiting for her future daughter-in-law to get up and chat for a while. "Let's eat." As for Kurosawa Yuma, he just glanced at his son and stood up without asking any questions. It is normal for young people to be energetic. I think back then, when he and his wife first started dating, it was the same. "Agwang, what are your plans for this afternoon?" At the dinner table, Kurosawa Yayoi asked about it while eating. "The weather is too hot. I plan to stay at home." Kurosawa Hikaru picked up his rice and knew what she wanted to ask, but he still said it. After last night's experience, he has come to a conclusion. Even if he goes out for a walk and walks around to see the scenery, he will only find in the end that it is more interesting to stay at home. And he has already made up his mind to stay at home these few days in order to avoid Nanami Iharu coming over and causing trouble. How about that? It's Yuki's first time coming to Izu. You want to show her around. Kurosawa Yayoi was not satisfied with this arrangement. This future daughter-in-law rarely comes to Izu, why should she appreciate the local customs? Yuki-chan is a model. The sun is so bright outside. What should I do if I get tanned when I run out? Hold an umbrella and apply sunscreen. It's not so easy to get tanned. Mom, I don't know where is more fun in Izu. Faced with her persistence, Kurosawa was helpless and could only show his cards. In fact, he is really unfamiliar with Izu. Maybe any tourist who has visited Izu knows more about the interesting places in Izu than he does. If you don't know, you can ask your dad. Kurosawa Yayoi guessed that he didn't like going out to play, and immediately said when he saw that he admitted it. This child has not liked going out to play since she was a child. Even if her classmates ran to the door and shouted, she would not go downstairs, which gave her a headache for who knows how many years. It was okay to have small fights in the past, but it is not okay to do this with my girlfriend now. There are many fun places in Izu, such as Ramiya Shrine, Plum Garden, and you can also take a speedboat out to sea on the beach. Swimming in the summer is also fun. Kurosawa Yuma, who was eating, suddenly had to face this problem. He coughed lightly, made some foreshadowing, and racked his brains to think of a few places. At his age, he has long lost interest in playing this kind of thing, so he can only rely on his experience of dating his wife back then. These places, then I will take her to the shrine for a walk. Kurosawa Hikaru was not interested at all. He was about to say what was fun, but his mother's eyes held him back. Since he was admitted to Tokyo, he has spent less than 2 months in his hometown throughout the year. It's a rare trip home, so I'd better take care of my mother's mood. After eating and drinking, Kurosawa Hikaru took little Yuki out with the 100,000 yen dating fund that his father had forced into his pocket. Come to the main shrine of Miya Shrine. Itchy Nose Yuki held an umbrella. Although she was forced to go out, she was looking forward to it. It was so dark last night that we couldn't see much of the scenery, but there were so many places we could go in broad daylight. Do you really want to go to Lamiya Shrine? Taking her to the bus stop, Kurosawa Hikaru saw her reaction and asked. Brother Guang, don't you want to go? Itchy Nose Yuki was a little puzzled. I know a more fun place than a shrine. Kurosawa Hikaru had no interest in the shrine at all and nodded slightly. Where is it? Yuki Itchy Nose came to Izu for the first time and was unfamiliar with the place, so she had to rely on him as a tour guide. Come with me. Kurosawa Hikaru did not reveal the answer, but shook his head and motioned for her to follow. It's summer now, and summer vacation is the peak season for summer resorts across the country. When we got on the bus, there were quite a few people who knew Hikaru Kurosawa. There were tourists in the car, but most of them were locals, with a wide age range. What a beautiful girlfriend, it is said that she is from Tokyo. She is indeed a child of the Kurosawa family. She is really promising. It would be great if my son could find such a beautiful girlfriend. This is the benefit of studying seriously. The older elders were naturally filled with sighs. Look, it's Kurosawa Senpai. Kurosawa Senpai seems to have become more handsome. This is not even the most handsome. Kurosawa Senpai is really handsome when he participates in the Kyoto competition and wears the Kyoto Hakama uniform. Several junior high school girls were very excited to see Kurosawa Hikaru. You know, Kurosawa Hikaru is a celebrity on the Izu Peninsula, and he was an out-and-out man of the hour during his school days. Because of this, students who attended the school Kurosawa once attended regarded him as their senior and senior when they saw him. Star. Tourists from all over the country were really amazed when they saw the handsome pair of Kurosawa Hikaru and Itchy Nose Yuki. But unlike yesterday, after everyone recognized him, it wasn't all good-natured sighs and exclamations, some were whispering. Why did he bring a girlfriend back? Is he worthy of senior Nanami like this? That's too much. Nanami-senpai clearly said to wait for him. Senior Nanami has liked him for so many years and been so kind to him, yet he actually likes other girls, what a scumbag. For example, there were several male high school students of similar age who looked at Kurosawa Hikaru with somewhat dissatisfied eyes. The bus is not small, and with the noise of the engine and driving, such whispers are not very noticeable. Although Yuki Itchy Nose is sensitive to other people's sights, her hearing is not particularly sharp. It would be better to say that it is worse than the average person. Because she had heard too much gossip back then, she would subconsciously ignore other people's whispers. However, Kurosawa Hikaru's hearing is very keen and he can hear the sounds in the bus clearly. Am I sorry for her if I don't stay with her? Kurosawa's face darkened. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 504. People always forget nice words quickly. People remember bad words deeply, but they will forget them with time. After a long time, when hearing such remarks again, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly remembered the reason why he didn't like Nanami Ayaharu. In fact, Nanami Ayaharu's appearance and beauty may be inferior to those of Yuki, Chizuru, Mirai, and others, but she is much prettier than most people. If there is a school bell in kindergarten, then Nanami Ayaharu has been a school belle since she was a child. In this small place of Izu Peninsula, her appearance is very outstanding, and she is not inferior to some stars at all. Here we go again. Listening to the whispers of those high school students, Kurosawa Hikaru recalled the past, and his good mood was immediately washed away. The reason why he didn't like Nanami Ayaharu had nothing to do with her appearance, but other aspects. For example, Nanami Ayaharu's love never made him feel lucky, but heavy. Nanami Ayaharu never concealed her love for him. This is not a bad thing, but the problem is that she is very beautiful and she always has many followers around her. Whether it was looking for him to play, handing him love letters, confessing, or sending chocolates. Nanami Ayaharu's pursuit and love for him were always accompanied by many people and announced to the world. Nanami Ayaharu always staged romantic confessions that made outsiders envious, trying to impress him through her performance, and also hoping that the atmosphere she created would move him and agree to her request. For others, seeing the drama of confession in public, it is natural that they want them to be together. In that kind of warm atmosphere, if he refuses, it will become his fault. From childhood to adulthood, he has received countless bad words and cold words for rejecting Nanami Ayaharu's confession. Some people scolded him for not knowing what is good for him. Some people scolded him for going too far. Some people scolded him for being blind. Some people scolded him for being stupid, and he refused such a beautiful girl's confession. This situation is completely an unprovoked disaster for him, and it is extremely disgusting. Ever since Nanami Ayaharu brought the kids to his house and asked him to go out and play, he chose to study and refused to go out. He inexplicably became a villain, despised by his peers and unnecessarily disliked. He confessed in public again and again, and was rejected in public again and again. Unconsciously, Nanami Ayaharu was like a victim, pitied, regretted, and felt unworthy for her. And he just followed his heart, pursued his studies, and had no intention of falling in love, but he was like a villain, being kept away, disliked, and gossiped about. Now that I think about it, he has no friends in the Izu Peninsula, not just because he is too lazy to make friends, but also has a lot to do with Nanami Ayaharu. His youth was actually isolated. However, because he was not interested in this and had a long-term vision, he did not feel bullied or isolated at all. Recalling the past deeds, Kurosawa Hikaru's face became more and more gloomy. Since he was admitted to the University of Tokyo, he rarely went back to his hometown, so he forgot all these things. At first, he dreamed that Nanami Ayaharu saw him off on the platform, and he felt that he was too ruthless to reject her confession in public. Now that he thinks about it, it wasn't ruthless at all. Why doesn't he remember Nanami Ayaharu's appearance? It's not because she's not pretty enough, nor is it because he was in a hurry along the way, but he simply hates her and doesn't even want to look at her straight in the eye. This woman is not a good person. She made him suffer an undeserved disaster and was ridiculed by people, but she never repented, as if she couldn't see him being attacked by everyone. Or, she knew everything, but still did it, intending to impose her heavy love on him and force him to agree. At this moment, Kurosawa Hikari suddenly felt his hands soften, and he heard worried concern. "Brother Hikari, what's wrong?" Ichinosuke held his hand and tilted her head to look at him. "It's okay." Kurosawa Hikari saw her cute look and realized that he had thought so much just now, which might have affected his expression, and smiled and shook his head. "This girl, it's rare for her to come to Izu, there's no need to let her know about unnecessary troubles." "Okay." Ichinosuke found that he was worried but didn't tell her, and she felt a little frustrated and disappointed. "Brother Guang, where are we going?" However, the disappointment on her face soon turned into a smile, and she asked curiously after she had forgotten about it. She didn't want to put pressure on Brother Guang, and since he didn't want to say it, she wouldn't ask. "You'll know when the time comes." Kurosawa Hikari could feel Yuki's thoughtfulness and smiled slightly. Why did he like her so much and why did he spoil her so much? It was because she was so sensible. When they were at the martial arts hall, Yuki found out that he was a playboy. She was very sad, but she hid her grievances. It wasn't until he left that she hid and cried alone, not wanting to embarrass him. "Tell me." Ichinosuke was very tactful about being coquettish, such as harmless things. "Don't worry, you will definitely like it." However, even if her coquettishness was annoying, Kurosawa Hikari didn't reveal the secret. After more than half an hour's drive, They got off the bus and walked for a few minutes to reach their destination. "We're here. Brother Guang, this is the place you said is more fun than the shrine, and I will definitely like it." Ichi-nose Yuki couldn't help but ask when she saw the destination. "Do you think the shrine is more fun? Do you like the shrine more?" Kurosawa Hikari looked at the hot spring hotel in front of him and asked back. "It's so hot, isn't it not good to take a hot spring bath?" Ichi-nose Yuki shook her head, a little shy. Although it is a hot spring hotel, it is also a hotel. A man and a woman come to such a place, isn't it just to rent a room? In fact, after she heard that there are hot springs in Izu, she also looked forward to coming to the hot springs, but according to her idea, it should be at night. "Don't worry, you can also take a hot spring bath in hot weather." Kurosawa Hikari took her hand and walked in. If it was the old him, he also thought it was not good to take a hot spring bath in the summer, but after going to Hakone with Chizuru's sister, he found that this was not a problem at all. No matter spring, summer, autumn, or winter, the key is that the young couple stays in the hotel in the name of taking a hot spring bath. After taking a hot spring bath, putting on yukata, and returning to the room, everything will be smooth sailing. They walked into the hotel at 1:30 p.m., and it was not until 5:30 p.m. that Kurosawa Hikaru and Ichi-nose Yuki walked out hand in hand. They walked hand in hand together, and they didn't want to go anywhere else, but planned to go home. Including the bus ride, they could get home at around 6 o'clock, just in time for dinner. In fact, when he went out at noon, Kurosawa Hikaru also received instructions from his father, asking him to take Yuki out for dinner in the evening, taste local delicacies, go shopping, buy clothes and local specialties, etc. But after thinking about it, he still felt that it would be better to go home for dinner. After all, he had too little time to accompany his parents after leaving his hometown to go to college, and he couldn't lose one thing because he brought Yuki back this time. "Brother Guang, we didn't go to the shrine, and we went home for dinner. What if Auntie asked about it?" Before leaving, they took another hot spring bath. Yuki Ichino's skin was rosy. After having fun, she suddenly felt a little worried. As Brother Guang said, hot spring hotels are indeed more fun than shrines. However, if this matter is exposed, it will be bad. All shrines are the same. You have been to shrines before. Just deal with it casually. If it doesn't work, I am here. Kurosawa Hikaru is not worried about this at all. His mother is just more worried, but she is not very smart. Yet, seeing his promise, Ichi-nose Yuki was relieved immediately. In her opinion, as long as Brother Guang is there, no matter what the problem is, it can be solved easily, and she doesn't need to worry at all. Huh. At this moment, Ichi-nose Yuki saw Brother Guang's face change and suddenly became gloomy, and she couldn't help feeling puzzled. She rarely saw Brother Guang unhappy. Maybe to make her happy, Brother Guang was always gentle, mature, and reliable in front of her. Noticing this strangeness, she followed Kurosawa Hikaru's gaze and saw a group of people. To be more precise, there was a girl walking in front, with 2 girls beside her, and 5 people behind her, both men and women. The girl in the lead wore a white sun hat, had long reddish-brown hair, and braided her hair into several pigtails. Her hairstyle was delicate and beautiful, her face was beautiful, her figure was slender, her eyebrows were curved, and her skirt was long, which made her look very gentle. This girl seemed to be passing by, but she just happened to see the side and looked over. Brother Guang is unhappy when he sees her. Why is that? Yuki Ichi-nose looked at this girl, and had no impression of her at all, and was puzzled. Kurosawa. Why is he here? At this moment, the boys and girls following Nanami Ayaharu all changed their faces and became restless. Another boy stood up and stood between Kurosawa Guang and Nanami Ayaharu, fearing that Nanami Ayaharu would see Kurosawa Guang and Ichi-nose Yuki at the door of the hot spring hotel. Kurosawa, you're back. However, Nanami Ayaharu took a step and walked out from the empty space on the side, looking at Kurosawa Guan, and then at Ichino's Yuki, their hands held together, with a lonely and gloomy look. That sad look was so pitiful that it made me feel sorry for her. Didn't you know last night? You saw me at the convenience store last night. Kurosawa Hikaru felt funny when he heard this, and he said it directly without any politeness. Although he could foresee that if he went out, he would most likely meet Nanami Ayaharu. But he never expected that this woman would dare to appear in front of him when he brought Sayuki to the hotel. And she was still the same as before, no matter where she went, there were always many people around her. She was the one who peeked at me and Hikaru at the convenience store last night. Although Ichino's Yuki didn't know who this girl was, she reacted immediately after hearing this. Her intuition has always been very accurate. Basically, if she feels that someone is staring at her, she will definitely not be wrong. As a result, she turned her head suddenly last night but didn't see anyone. This person is either very good at tracking or very good at peeping. At least, this girl's tracking level is definitely better than Miss Igarashi.